Welcome, everybody, to the Seattle Sports Union podcast. Back again, it's me, Abraham DeWeese, and with us once again, talking about soccer or football, is the Ram, Richard A. Michelson. How's it going, Rich?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing well, especially on the horns of a new MLS season. That's right. This last week, the MLS started. Crazy new formats, crazy new playoffs, crazy new jerseys. In fact, I got my Bruce Lee kit on right now, and let's dive right into it because we had a game. I wish I could say it was entertaining for a casual. It was only entertaining for us, Rich, the Sounders fan.
Yes, that's true.
Was 4-0 or 4-0 beatdown just a case of the sillies getting, for Colorado coming out of the gates, or is this the real Sounders team?
I mean, I think it's a case of a couple of things. One, Colorado is probably not very good this year. They were good a couple of years ago. They've lost a bunch of key pieces. Players have gotten older and regressed. And I don't know that they have a unifying philosophy or strategy that can kind of carry over when you don't necessarily have the same talent. So, I mean, I think that's part of it is just that Colorado, I don't expect to be very good. Here's the other thing is that everyone except for Raul Ruidiaz was healthy for the Sounders.
Yeah, let's talk about that because we had a full squad, but in Raul Ruidiaz's place is a new guy to the team, a new striker. And his name is, if I pronounce his name wrong, let me know, Aber? The Brazilian forward?
Aber, yes.
What's with this guy and where did he come from?
He
looks awesome.
Sorry, you said he looked awesome. Is that right?
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he is awesome when he's healthy. So when he first rolled into MLS, I think it was in 2017 or 2018, he had a very good season for a powerhouse New York City FC club, and he was the main striker. He had 15 goals and a bunch of assists, but not just that. He did everything that you want from a classic center forward, a hold up player. So, and he's a bit bigger than Raul Ruidiaz. Raul is only like 5'7". Aber is like 5'11". He's a little bit bigger. I mean, none of these guys are actually huge, except for, I think back to like Roman Torres, right? Mostly soccer players are pretty skinny when you look at them up close in person.
Jordan Morris, or I think Chad Marshall was pretty big too.
Chad Marshall's pretty big. Jordan Morris is going to look pretty husky. Roman Torres from back in the day is very, very large man, but most soccer players look pretty normal / skinny. And so Aber's got a bigger frame. He can take a little more of a beating, and he can play with his back to the ball or back to the goal, which is something that the Sounders really haven't had for a while. Ruidiaz is great. Ruidiaz is probably going to go down as the single best forward the Sounders have had to this point. And he's just lethal in the box. But Aber is much better at linking play and bringing the midfield and the wingers into the attack. And, he lays the ball off to someone else, and then he spins with a clever move where he has a back heel. He looked awesome. He looked like he was vibing, and I was there for it. I loved watching it. It was super fun.
So why did New York FC let him go?
New York FC is in a complete rebuild mode. Maxi Morales, their aging version of Ladero, left, and they lost their biggest star, Tati Castellanos, last year. He transferred to Europe, and so they've had to rebuild the squad top to bottom. And I think that they just didn't think that Aber was going to recover from the injuries he's had over the last few years. They didn't think that he fit into what they wanted to do. And, he's an aging veteran. And, it's all to the Sounders' benefit, I think.
So, Aber, any relation to New Orleans quarterback of yesteryear, Bobby Aber?
No, and hopefully no relation to the Saints as an organization either.
Oh, okay.
with their historically terribleness. Yes, I know one Super Bowl, but and the Peyton era has been great, but historically they've been straight up trash. So
So is
let's
this a different team? We saw João Paulo come into the game. Is
mhm.
this a different team with and without him? And is that I was talking to some buddies. Is he the linchpin as to why we missed the playoffs last year?
Yes. Yes. João Paulo is the successor to Ozzy Alonso, but different is the best way to describe it. But he has the one key skill that really no one else on the team has displayed. Not even Christian Roldan, who is a fantastic player and has played in the central defensive midfield, next to Ozzy Alonso for a number of years. Ozzy had the skill to be able to break up an attack, recover the ball, and hit the right incisive, unbalancing pass to start a counterattack. Okay. All in one player, all in one spot on the field. João Paulo has that same skill set. No one else on the team has that skill set. Not that they've demonstrated yet. We have a couple of youngsters that could get to be just as effective as João Paulo. Obviously, they're different players, but could, have that function of breaking an attack, starting a counterattack all in one move, right? But Josh Atencio and Danny Leyva have not shown that. Vargas from last year, who was our 16-year-old star playing in the Champions League, who then ended up with a fracture in his back. He could be that player, but he's 17. We shouldn't expect too much out of a 17-year-old, especially coming back from a fracture in your back, fracture in the vertebrae. You need to bring him along slow. So
let's talk about that youth, because with Leyva, Atencio, Obed Vargas,
there we go.
Tevis and Chu.
Yeah, Tevis, Dylan Tevis is a bit older because he went to college at the University of Washington.
Oh, okay.
I think he went all 4 years. But he's still young.
Let me get to my main point. My question was going to be about, it seems like Jackson Reagan is the only one of that younger crowd that's ready to go right now. Is that a fair assumption from the center back?
I think that it is. Last year, there were reports coming out of, these were unnamed sources out of Sounders camp, but their commentary is that Jackson Reagan was already the second best defender we had and had every potential. Center back specifically.
Oh, okay.
He's already the second best center back that we had, and had the potential to be better than Yamar, to be really, really good. And he's shown that in flashes. There is a reason he's starting instead of Arriaga.
Right. Well, I was not a fan of Xavier Arriaga last year. You know that. I'm happy to see him step up, but I felt like all of the attention, all of the blow up on the internets was about Danny Leyva, and it seems like Reagan kind of snuck in there. And I know he's older; he's 24 rather than 17 or whatever it is that Leyva is. But
Leyva, I think, is now 20. Believe it or not, he's been with the Sounders for some time. It's just that he had 2 injury plagued years. From his, he had a debut year, and then he got hurt in that year, and then he was healed up and played some, and then he had another injury year, then he, got healed, and then last year he was healthy but inexperienced, right? You figure that he's missing 1,200 to 2,000 professional minutes each of those seasons that he was out with various injuries. So you can't replace that experience, right? It's just game time, whether it's at Defiance or at, with the Sounders, it's time on the pitch that you haven't learned, right? So,
right. But what's it mean to have actual players with caps being, of course, international play experience for your national team. So we're talking about your Christian Roldans, your Jordan Morrises, and even Nuhu Tolo, right? What does that mean to have that on the team? Is that an outdated model, or does that have value?
It absolutely has value in a couple of ways. The international game at its best is better than any other type of soccer. Yes, you have super teams in Europe. Real Madrid, Arsenal, Manchester United, Bayern Munich, etc. Right, but those are the exception. By and large, the best collection of talent that most players are going to ever have the experience of playing on that team or against the team is going to be at the international level, specifically at the World Cup. And so to have 3 World Cup veterans is huge. I know they didn't play, like Roldan didn't make it on the pitch. Morris made it on the field for a few minutes. It doesn't matter. Being a player that's gone to the World Cup is a special experience. It's instructive. And, this is based on what every, U.S. player said, going to the World Cup changed me as a player forever. Like I was never the same. So I think it's great. I think it's, it's awesome.
The buzz on the internet was that Christian Roldan, maybe he's borderline talent-wise, but he was being groomed. The reason why he was on the World Cup team is he's being groomed as the next great manager in American sports. Have you heard anything about that?
I have not, but that sounds like a rumor I would like to get. Can I have some more, please? Can I have some more?
That's just what I'm hearing. And I'm trying to, I just had his name in my head. The former Sounder, who's now a assistant coach at Atlanta United.
Pineda.
Yeah.
Gonzalo Pineda. Yeah.
That's the thought there is like, this guy's got definitely a career after his playing days are done. And that was an effort. Yeah. That was an effort to get him in a leadership role that apparently the Americans were sorely lacking.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. Really the Americans have struggled from a leadership perspective. I mean, really organizationally is really the thing. Like, not enough leadership amongst the players, but also not enough leadership, in senior management and in, the technical staff. Berhalter did some good things as the head coach, but there's a significant portion of the fan base is not terribly pleased with him and ready to move on. And he's obviously made some big missteps, especially with relation to the Gio Reyna saga, controversy, whatever you want to call it, drama. It's just not handled well at all by anyone. But you especially expect your manager who is, 40 something, 50 something to be more mature than a 19-year-old kid. So,
yeah. And I heard Reyna wasn't that mature either. So going down.
No, I mean, it's not that I don't think this is a hot take, but Gio Reyna is possibly the most talented American player ever, possibly. But he's also a petulant little spoiled brat. So he can't stay healthy.
He's
Claudio's son. Yeah, but like unlike his dad, he can't stay healthy. Like the kid is always getting injured, or if he's not injured, and he's not playing, then he's pouting basically. So
right on. All right, let's switch gears here. I want to talk about the Apple TV contract that the MLS has signed. Major League Soccer is now on Apple TV. It's almost an exclusive. There'll be something like 30 to 40 games played on ESPN or Fox or whatever. There'll be a spattering of games put on regular TV. I've heard everything from this is going to doom the league because casuals will not be able to find it, to this is going to save the league because it'll have international penetration that you would not get on Fox or ESPN. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
I'm more on the side that this could be very, very, very good for the league rather than bad. And the first reason is $2.5 billion over 10 years.
But that's split 28 ways, right?
Sure, but still, it's $250 million a year of revenue going to the league. That's way more than anyone else was willing to pay. Okay. Here's the other thing that drove me nuts. Okay, but football is different. Football is its own thing. We're going to push that to the side.
American
football. Basketball, and baseball.
Wait, hang on. Are you talking about American football is a different thing?
Yeah, American football, scheduling wise. I'm going to talk about schedules and why it matters. Okay.
Because there's only a few games of American football.
There's only a few games of American football. But Abe, if I'm in town visiting from Salt Lake and it's the summer, you know what I'm going to look at? I'm going to see if the Mariners are in town, right?
Yeah.
And if they are, we're going to go to a game. And you know what? I don't need to check my calendar to see what time the game is. Do you know why?
Because it's always
it starts
7 o'clock.
Same time. Yeah, 7:05, right?
Except Sundays, yeah.
Except for Sundays, which is 1:05, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's the pattern. That consistency brings a lot of casuals in the door because oh, hey, I can watch the Mariners at 7:05. They're going to be on TV, right? Unless it's the weird like ESPN broadcast. But I mean, like 160, 150 games, let's say, it's at 7 o'clock every night.
Yep.
That consistency helps. Basketball is basically the same thing, with the exception of like weird, national broadcasts on a Sunday
game.
Yeah. But I mean, 7:35 is when, the tip was for basketball. And I'm guessing that hockey is the same. I haven't followed the tips or the time that the Kraken are on.
It's the same.
Yeah. So one of the things that has harmed casuals finding soccer matches is the fact that the schedule bounces all over the place. Are you playing on Saturday? Are you playing on Sunday? Are you playing on Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday? Like literally every day of the week, the Sounders have played over the last 6 or 7 years. They've had games all throughout the week. And I'm not talking about Champions League or Open Cup. I'm talking about actual league matches have bounced all over the calendar. And that kind of inconsistency is aggravating. You have to really pay attention. But B, you don't know where to go, right? Like, how do I see this game? I don't know. Is it on ESPN? Don't know. Fox Sports 1, ABC? Like, who knows? Yeah. So from a consistency standpoint, yes, there's a drawback to the Apple TV deal. You have to pay for it. Okay. But if you're going to pay for it, you know that at 7 o'clock local time, this match is going to kick off. Coverage is going to start a half hour beforehand. There's going to be a pregame show for every team, and whoever's covering that match is going to do the pregame show. There's also going to be a whip around show, which is going to be free, which I think is a big deal. You can go to Apple TV and just watch it. It's like watching NFL Red Zone. They're going to go between the different games when something exciting is happening or going to happen possibly. And there's they're gonna have commentary, kind of running commentary as they watch the match. So right. Whether that's your thing or not your thing, but that's another way to penetrate. It's something to have on, if you don't want to pay like super close attention to what's going on. So I think that's great. But I'll tell you what the biggest difference and the biggest reason I think that this is huge. The picture quality is A+. Every single game, every camera was 1080p or better. Okay. Later this season, they're going to start integrating 4K cameras into their broadcasts. Okay. The picture quality previously on ESPN, on Fox Sports, has been like trying to watch a soccer match through a mayonnaise jar.
Right. Because you'd get it on...
It would be like a 720 or 80.
The regional broadcast here in Seattle, it was on a alternate, like we used to call it UHF back in the, and it was a fixed camera. You'd be lucky if there's another camera down on the sideline.
Right. But actually I was going to say the local broadcasts are not as much the issue as the national broadcasts, honestly. A number of times I'm trying to watch the national broadcast and it's worse quality than the Sounders local broadcast.
That's because they're sending the B team or C team.
Or the F team. I mean, like, it's just like horrible. Okay. I don't know if you remember, there was a broadcast network called The Mountain that was for the Mountain West Sports when they broke off from the WAC. They started their own network. It's now defunct, but that was a thing for a while. And I watched innumerable games on the Mountain because University of Utah and BYU, my local teams here in Salt Lake, and the camera was just straight garbage. I mean, just like the worst cameras you could possibly imagine. And for too long, Major League Soccer has had the worst cameras. these cameras, it was just so great. Like it was like last weekend was amazing because the picture was crystal clear on every single match.
Yeah, and like you said, if they're sending the F team, yeah, they're going to get the equipment that's they're going to get the Betamax recorder instead of the digital recorder anyway. Yeah, I get what you mean, because sometimes I watch Eastern Washington University football on a channel called Pluto TV. It's the only way I'm going to get it.
So the signal's going all the way to Pluto and back to you, so you can watch the game.
Feels like that, yes. But no,
Okay.
it looks like a high school production. Yeah, I've seen high school productions better than it, But
yeah,
it does look better. I watched that first game. It does look better. The ability to switch. This is a game changer for me. The ability to switch from the national broadcast to my local Seattle broadcast crew. Amazing. Because my biggest complaint, I've texted you a million times in the last decade. Like these Yabos don't even know the names of our players.
Right.
And they talk about LAFC, and that's not even the team we're playing. And they're
right.
yakking about a team I don't care about. Like, announce the game in front of you,
Exactly. So I was going to make one comment, is that I thought that the whip around show needs to work. I think they'll get better. They were pretty good for this. I'd say a solid B-. But like some of the announcers messed up some names of who did what, and they'll get better too, I think. A lot of these guys have been local, local announcers for the like the San Jose Earthquake or whomever. So they're really familiar with the team that they had been attached to, but I'm sure that there's a learning curve, getting the right, the right names on teams they're not as familiar with. But overall, I'm very pleased with what I saw. I'm planning on plunking down my money this weekend and signing up.
Do you have T-Mobile?
I don't.
Okay.
But I saw that was a benefit, and we've actually been talking about switching.
For anybody watching this, like, I have T-Mobile, and they're giving you MLS season pass for free. You don't have to pay the $15 a month Apple Plus to get it, and that's like, wow, nice. Also, if you're a season ticket holder of any of the MLS clubs, included in your season ticket package is that the season pass and the Apple Plus, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fantastic when you consider what do you think? 28 teams averaging 20,000 people per game. How many do you think are actual season ticket holders?
Oh, I'd say probably around half at this point.
Okay, so 10,000. Yeah. So Apple TV's adding about 10,000 times 28.
Yeah.
So 28,000, I think that's right. I can't do math.
That's like two point. Hold on.
No,
that's 280,000. Like 280,000.
I told you I can't do math. But I mean, it's adding their sub base for Apple TV is something like 25 million. So they're adding people that are diehards, but will now become Apple TV casual fans.
Here's the other thing. So Apple TV was behind all the other streaming services, especially the Apple TV Plus, right? Yeah. They've always been like a thing that you could have to like get at everything else that you're subscribed to, right? But now on the Apple TV Plus homepage, there is it's like Apple TV Plus originals. There's a couple of other things, but the second thing there says MLS.
Yep.
So it's not like they're just kind of. It's a big deal to them. They're invested in this. They've put a lot of effort into it, and so I'm very encouraged by that.
What I also like is they give you the scores of the different games on the card. Like it's a card-based format, so you scroll through it and it gives you the scores of not just soccer but football, American football as well.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so some neat stuff there. I mean, like if you try to watch like a basketball game live, it'll send you out to whatever channel that's on, through a different system, but it's still nice that it's there and they're building like a sports profile. Interesting stuff. I do worry about casuals getting left out, but if if this is the way that sports are going, if there's going to be a way to get rid of the stranglehold that ESPN and Fox has, this could be it.
Well, I was going to say that's the thing. And like, here's what I have to say about Fox and ESPN is that they have fumbled the ball. Wrong sport, I know, wrong metaphor, but they have not. They have done everything but stick Major League Soccer into the basement in a tiny little closet in the boiler room, right? Like
they've done it to NHL and they were doing it to MLS.
Yeah, and like when you have I don't know, some piece of garbage mid-season college basketball game preempting like a season kickoff premier team matchup, which was the Sounders on Sunday night on Fox Sports 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know who was playing. Like it was Podunk U versus Podunk U. And
it wasn't even Duke, North Carolina. It was
it was like I looked at it, I'm like, oh, this isn't even an interesting game. And then it just went on and on and on and on and on. I want to say that I know I missed kickoff, but I had switched it to Apple TV to watch it there because I knew I wouldn't miss the kickoff because it's not going to be preempted by anything, right? So superior technology, I'll say that.
Do you know what that makes me think? I'm wrong sport, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
the Pac-12 football is going through a weird thing right now. And I just think I had not thought about this until you just brought it up. How many times did I watch a Husky game that was preempted for NASCAR?
Right.
Or some blowout like Oklahoma would play, New Mexico Teachers College and they'd blow them out. But it's like, I'm stuck with this. And then they say at the very bottom in very tiny lettering, switch over to this other channel that you probably don't even have a subscription.
Or the Fox Sports app or whatever it is. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So I'll just a side note, there's nothing I hate more as a sports fan than another event bleeding into the event that I want to watch.
Yeah.
And I get it. You have scheduling conflicts and whatever else. But here's the thing. You're alienating a chunk of your people every time you do that.
Yep.
And you're also essentially lying to them about like, you can watch this. So folks need to spread out their sporting events and bake in some buffer, really is what it boils down to. Nobody wants to do that, but that's what you need to do. Like, I'd rather have like 10 minutes of talking heads at the national desk for football or whatever lead into the game rather than the quick turnaround. That's it for us on NASCAR. Now we're going to throw you to Seattle to watch the Washington Huskies or the Seattle Sounders or whatever. And then 2 seconds later you're at the stadium, and then a minute later kickoff. Right? Like, that's just no way to introduce a fan to, especially casuals, to. Right. Yeah. So, but your point about casuals finding it, yes, there is. But here's the thing: I don't think that Major League Soccer at this point has enough casuals. They have they have a core base of people that want to watch them. Mm-hmm. They're not getting very many casuals because, for whatever reason, the league hasn't really gone hard after them.
But I wonder again, what if on Apple TV, you're starting to get into locales that don't have like a game going on. For example, let's just say England. I'm a diehard soccer guy. My team doesn't start till September.
Right.
And I look on my phone like, oh, New York FC plays, Atlanta. Well, it's soccer. I'll watch it,
Right.
Maybe there's an opportunity there.
Yeah. And I think that there is an opportunity there. And I think that Apple maybe could do some marketing maybe further into the season, right? I don't know, 10 weeks into the season or whatever, hey, we'll give you a weekend pass to watch Apple TV for free, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty normal for most streaming services to offer a free whatever, right? I don't know if you're familiar with Sling TV, but they do it all the time. You get a free week, and then you pay for, whatever it is you're paying for. So I think that's a possibility that they might do down the road a bit. Obviously right now they're trying to get full subscription fees, which I totally understand. So
right on. All right, let's move on to the next question. This one's actually a point of consternation for a lot of people, and that's an expanded playoffs. Now we move from I believe it was it was a 14 team.
Yeah, it was seven teams in each conference to
it's 20.
I think it's
19. No, it can't be 19.
9 or 8. I don't know. I saw that there was a playoff thing. I haven't gone back and studied what the implications of it are.
Are we watering down the game, or is this an effort to do what the NFL did and get teams that are kind of on the cusp interest in late season pushes?
I mean, I think that it's a combination of things. I think the other thing is that it is a lack of confidence on the part of Major League Soccer as an institution to just pick a format and stick with it. Right. And I will just say that I kind of like when 6 teams in each conference went, I thought that was good. 5 teams in each conference was like, okay, whatever. But I really like this last format we had with 7 in each conference, with only the number 1 seed getting a bye, and then single knockout. Top seed has home field advantage, and then you have a neutral site, or not a neutral site, but you have the MLS Cup at the team that has a better record. I would prefer a neutral site, but that was a bad experiment. There's not enough, not a deep enough penetration of people that want to go to MLS Cup to support that, which is fine. But I really thought that the format that we had from 2018 through last year was really, really good. And I would have liked to see that continue. As far as watering things down, I mean, basketball has watered things down. Half the teams make it to the playoffs. This is essentially half of the teams making it to the playoffs. NFL and Major League Baseball have a bit more of an exclusive club, especially with Major League Baseball having the first wild card and the second wild card and a one game playoff, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the other big thing. The other big thing is MLS is now doing a best 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I've been wanting that for years because I think the home and home Americans just don't get it.
No, I mean, I get it. It's a European thing. It's definitely a nuanced thing, and it's probably a fool's errand to try to get Americans as a community to buy into it unless you beat it down their throat for 40 years. So I understand that. I don't like 2 out of 3. I like the single elimination thing. I like it. You're one and done. And but it's an effort to get more revenue. It's a revenue grab, whatever. But see, soccer, European or not, it is really not meant for series, like 2 out of 3 kind of a thing. There's no other format anywhere in the world that does that. It's always home and home or just single knockout.
Yeah, but I mean, you can do a home and home when you got the tradition of it, and
people, I get you.
People are okay with a tie in other countries.
Yeah,
when you're doing a home and home, I mean, the tactic is to go for a tie if you're the visiting team, right?
Yeah,
and I think that doesn't play well. But
no, I totally agree with you there. My one concern about this is that how tightly bunched are the games going to be?
In the
Major League Soccer has like a 34 game season. You figure, every team has at least one game in the Open Cup. There's going to be a tournament in the middle of the season. We'll get to that in a second. It's called Leagues Cup. Every team's going to have like 3 more games at least for that. So, I mean, that's 38 games before the playoffs. Never mind preseason. Like, let's just not count preseason. Um, that's going to be a ton of games, and especially if you pack them tightly into like one on top of the other. I mean, we're going to see a lot of injuries, and we're going to see teams get very worn down. And that's one of my concerns about like these 3-game series. So, I mean, obviously we'll see how it goes, but that's my concern is that we might ruin the product somewhat by having big time players, drop out because they're injured, because there's too much wear and tear.
Do you think there's a benefit as far as moving to Apple TV? All the games are on weekends. Let me confirm that first, right?
Yes. Every Saturday, basically every team plays on Saturday unless they're on a national broadcast with Fox Sports. Let me get to my question. Sure.
My question is predicated on they play on the weekends. Got it.
They play on the weekends. Yep.
The hassle of Champions League and the hassle of the U.S. Open, that now gets mitigated a bit because those would happen on Wednesdays probably. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that can make it a little bit easier for teams to manage. Okay.
Yeah. So, but in the playoffs, you can't just do weekend games, right? Because otherwise your playoffs are going to last like 2.5 months. They're going to have to do multiple midweek games with weird air times.
Well, especially if you're doing 2 out of 3 in round 1, right?
Yeah, 2 out of 3 in round 1.
It's all going to be played in one week, I would expect.
Yeah, I mean, so that's 3 games in a week. I guess that's your punishment for finishing in 9th or 8th or whatever it is, right? So, but then my other concern is it's just air times, right? Like, when is this going to be? So the cool thing is it's all going to be on Apple TV, but the drawback is you're going to probably have to mess up your routine of when games were.
Right. I guess, but I'll tell you, that's the new paradigm, though. I mean, what were you?
Yeah. I was just going to say, what I am excited about is this new thing that kind of goes along with all of this is Leagues Cup. Both the Mexican League and Major League Soccer are going to take a month off in August, and they're going to play a World Cup like tournament with every team in both leagues getting like 3 games, 2 games.
I thought Liga Mexico, don't they have fewer teams than we do?
They do.
How's that going to work out?
There's going to be some uneven groups is basically what it boils down to. And I don't know that everything's been worked out on that, but every single game of that tournament, and this is that's all that's going to be on it. There's not going to be any interference with the league schedule with either league. They're just going to play this tournament and crown a champion. But they're all going to be on Apple TV, and with the World Cup feel. I mean, that's a packed in tournament. It's a month. There's going to be like, I think the champion will have to play like 7 games or 6 games or something like that, right? So, but here's the other thing: is that 3 spots to the CONCACAF Champions League are on the line, which is it's a big deal. It's another way to get in. So previously, if you won MLS Cup, you got in. If you were one of the top finishers in your conference, you got in. Or if you won US Open Cup, you got in. Now there's more ways to get in because the Champions League is getting bigger. They're expanding it. So
is this a middle finger to all the other leagues in North America, though?
Yes and no, but I'll say this: this is the United States, Canada, and Mexico taking their rightful place at the center of CONCACAF as the dominant soccer forces. This is a changing of the guard. For a long time, the United States and Canada were very, very weak in the Champions League, in just having domestic soccer, and you saw really great performances from teams from Central America, especially, and occasionally a team or two from the Caribbean. would make a run and do well. But this is yeah, maybe it is a middle finger, but it's also a recognition by Liga MX that Major League Soccer is their peer.
Okay.
And that there is a crap ton of money for them to make by having a tournament in the United States with the United States teams, because the most watched soccer in America is the Premier League. Okay. Far and away, consistently. But the second most watched soccer is Liga MX on Univision and Unimos and whoever else is Telemundo. They're broadcasting the matches for Liga MX. So Liga MX has a ton of fans in the United States, and this is going to capitalize on that. But this is also an effort by Major League Soccer to spread where their games are broadcast and watched, right? They want to penetrate into Mexico.
Right.
So should be fun.
Yeah, it's fascinating because you're talking about MLS has now elevated itself. So I was looking at the payrolls for teams in Mexico.
Yeah.
MLS pays about the same. I was looking at Colombia and Argentina, about the same. About half of Brazil, their league, they spend more on players than we do. But I think that payroll going up has kind of given some parity between America and Mexico.
I mean, there's definitely more parity than there ever has been. Major League Soccer rosters have never been deeper. And
that was the big concern too, though, was that by adding more teams up to 28 now, with some more coming online, that it would get washed out. But it hasn't. It hasn't.
So here's a couple of reasons why. The academy system has really developed, like really developed. We are now turning out players like Danny Leyva, Josh Atencio. Jackson Reagan isn't an academy guy, but he is an American product who went to college and then was drafted in and developed over the last couple of years to be a starter.
Was Yedlin
Yedlin was an academy kid, and he played club soccer. So, but now teams are developing like 5 or 6 Yedlins. Okay, if you look at the team we took to the World Cup, almost every single of one of those players, there's a handful that were they're overseas Americans, right? Service members and whatnot. But they were not the biggest chunk of them were kids that had come up in American soccer academies, primarily through Major League Soccer, and then gone to Europe. Gio Reyna, I mentioned him earlier. He was a New York City FC product. He got to go to Europe because he has somebody has a European passport, is basically what it boils down to.
Okay.
He was able to get a European passport and could go work in Europe. So this is this is a big a big deal, and they're marching up the list, right? Like they just keep on investing more and more. But here's the other thing: is there's almost an inexhaustible amount of soccer talent in the world. Okay, people say, "Oh, it's tapped out." No, it's never tapped out. And even just here in the United States is too physically big to scout all the talent.
Yeah,
you could have 1,000 scouts, and you wouldn't find all the soccer talent there is. Well, I'll just give a quick example close to home. Here in Seattle, Christian Roldan was not scouted. He was not recruited. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody wanted him. He was having to send out tape to like D3 schools. And then a scout for the University of Washington went to a match to scout another player on the other team. And he said, "Holy crap, who is this Roldan kid?" And that's who he ended up recruiting to the University of Washington. And the rest obviously is history.
I believe the story of his brother, Alex Roldan, who went to Seattle U, which is not known as a sports powerhouse. That just happened to be like, you see my brother? Maybe you ought to check him out.
Maybe you wanted to take a look at him. Yeah.
That is fascinating stuff. A question about a couple of one of the teams that just came online. big success with Cincinnati, I think. Big success with Austin, and I think Carolina has even had
Oh yeah,
success.
they had 60,000 people at their home opener on Saturday.
Nice.
I mean, I don't care like what kind of sporting event that is. That's a big deal.
Yep.
60,000 people in the stands. That's impressive.
Speaking of 60,000, that's almost the amount of season ticket holders that St. Louis City, or I guess they call it City FC. St. Louis, are they about to blow the lid off of this?
Yeah, they are. So, as far as centers of U.S. soccer power, right? Like history, legacy, tradition, St. Louis, for the longest time was the home of U.S. soccer. We would play all of our qualifying matches for the World Cup in St. Louis. That was the home stadium, the home crowd. And there are so many players that played for the United States and went to Europe that came from the greater St. Louis area. Former Sounder Will Bruin is actually a St. Louis native. He's actually, ironically enough,
he's on that team.
Austin. No, he's actually on Austin FC.
Oh, okay.
They signed him. St. Louis didn't sign him for whatever reason. I don't know what the deal was, but yeah. I mean, they are what Columbus kind of became once Columbus got the first soccer specific stadium, right?
Yeah.
And then the U.S. national team started playing all their big matches against Mexico or somebody else in Columbus, right? Well, St. Louis was that place beforehand. And a couple years ago,
good.
I was just going to say a couple years ago, there was it was the Copa America Centenario, I want to say. And they installed like temporary turf, temporary grass in the Edward Jones Stadium, the football stadium they have there, and they sold the place out. It was just like a packed, loud, incredibly vociferous, following, and it was for a bunch of teams that were not in the United States. Like it's just a soccer loving area. So I expect great things from them. I think they might be truly the next it team. I think they might be the team that truly takes over the mantle from the Sounders as the best expansion, like run up and open ever.
You're obviously not talking about on the field, because
not necessarily on the field, no, but like
you're talking
organization,
about, like,
fans.
You're talking about. Let me finish what I was going to say there. You're talking about a shift from Seattle, Portland being the home of MLS to St. Louis.
St. Louis. I mean,
why weren't they? Why didn't they have a team before? If this was such fertile ground,
I guess they never had a local investor. Really, is what it boiled down to.
That's true.
And I mean, who is it that owned the Rams? The Cronkies. Kroenke. I mean, he was like a penny pinching, a penny pinching miser, like Mr. Scrooge. I mean, makes Scrooge look generous. So,
well, he owns the Rapids.
Well, he owns the Rapids, but he also owns.
They've been for a while.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think don't they own another soccer team in the United Kingdom?
Yeah, they do. Is it Arsenal? I think it might be Arsenal.
It might be Arsenal, yeah.
Or I guess
so. I mean, like, it's not like they don't have money.
They're the lead investor on Arsenal, I believe.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah. So they never had a local ownership group, and maybe just the push, right? Because remember, Major League Soccer almost died. So they contracted, and then they didn't expand for a number of years, and then they slowly went like one after another, very slowly.
I believe Toronto was their first hit as far as an expansion team.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto was terrible on the field, but very successful otherwise, like as far as getting butts in seats and making a lot of money, right? So, but there was just a very slow expansion from there. And now, obviously, the league is in much better standing and much better footing, and they feel like they can expand at a quicker pace. But I mean, here's the thing that I'll just say, all the hype for the last few years has been about Atlanta and has been about LAFC, right? And LAFC has not even a 20,000 person stadium. I don't know if anyone realizes that. I mean, it's a loud, cool stadium. Like, don't get me wrong. It's beautiful. It's well built, well designed, but it's only 20,000 people in LA. LA like has tons of soccer folks. I mean, it's a huge metropolitan area. There's no excuse to have such a small stadium for LA is my first point.
Well, I think it's more because LA Galaxy weren't selling out.
Well, but LA Galaxy are in Carson, which is like an hour drive from like the heart of the city. LAFC is next to the Coliseum. Next to USC's campus. There's a sports complex right there. I mean, there's really good connections. You can get there if you want to. Carson is a schlep. But that's my thought. And then, we've seen Atlanta. They were awesome. They won MLS Cup once, sold out their stadium all the time, but like they've since their attendance has been dropping consistently over the last few years as they're not the new shiny thing. And I see season ticket purchases are far different than just filling up a stadium. They are a far bigger commitment. And I don't expect them to continue to have 60,000 people wanting season tickets, right? I think that's probably wishful thinking, but I can see them stay in the 50,000 range. And, if they have a big enough stadium to fill up, they will do that. There are people that want to see some good soccer there.
All right. I got one last question here for today. I'm going to ignore the preview. Let's just, I want to see if you've been in on the issue between the Sounders ECS, so the Emerald City Supporter Group, and ownership about the new sponsorship for the stadium or for the club.
Yeah.
There's a without getting political, because I mean there's a whole like that's all just opinion anyway. What are the ramifications of this alienation, or not alienation? I guess it's just this clash between supporters and club. I mean, it's not just a Sounders thing. I mean, we can expand that to other things.
Sure.
Portland has had this problem, and other teams have.
What's the problem here? Here is the thing.
Does this screw up? Hang on. Look, second part of the question. And does this screw it up for other people who don't care?
I don't think that it screws it up for other people that don't care. I think there will be a coordinated, I don't know if boycott's the right term. Some sort of protest will happen at one of these matches here sometime soon. And just to not get into the details of the politics, but the issue is that Providence is a Christian church-owned and operated medical system that does not provide abortion or other similar services for any of their patients.
Yeah.
And there's some other stuff as well that I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole. But
it's a conservative group in a very liberal city.
Yes.
That's the crux of the situation.
That's the crux of the situation. So real world impact. There will be some sort of protests. Emerald City supporters are not going to not go to the games. They're still going to go to the games and cheer the Sounders and make awesome tifos and wave flags and be obnoxious if you're too close to their section and don't want to listen to them. And I know there's a part of the fan base that doesn't want to listen to them. You might be part of that fan base.
As I get older, I'm more into the, I'd rather be able to watch the game. Yeah.
I was going to say you'd rather be over the quiet corner sipping a drink of your choice and not having to listen to people yell and scream and jump and be rowdy.
And put a flag.
So in other words, get off my lawn.
Yeah. No, it's just, it's just a matter of you spend X amount of money and that cost goes up every year.
Sure.
And, I go home and I watch the game on replay and I'm like, I missed 80% of the game. Well, the first handful of years it was fun, but it's like I'm not in the know of what's going on in the moment. and then I watch it
Yeah.
later, and it's like, oh, I missed an extraordinary thing because some jackass was, throwing up a baby.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah. I get it. So here's the other practical impact of this. The Sounders are going to sell less jerseys.
That's actually not the case. The particular,
I think it's going to be the case.
The particular jersey that I'm wearing is setting records for sales.
Oh, I think that it will set records in like this first period of time, but consistently your ECS members.
The green ones probably won't sell. The
green ones are not going to sell.
The Bruce Lee one, people are buying because it looks really cool. Yeah. It was like the Jimi Hendrix ones last year. Like, had that not been Jimi Hendrix, I think a lot of people would have said, like, the hell is this?
Exactly.
But it's got kind of some.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. I mean, the Jimi Hendrix one for the last couple of years has kind of been money. This one, okay, just 2 cents on it. Like, but anyway, I think that the ECS demographic are your most ardent most core supporters, most likely to buy a jersey folks. Okay.
They'll buy a new one.
That they will, basically buy the new one every single year. They have 20 jerseys in their closet, so
everybody else buys one. 5 years later, you get another one because it's one.
Yeah, exactly. So there will be an impact of that. Do you mind if we pivot over to the jersey that you're wearing?
We got 30 seconds. Got 30 seconds.
Okay. It's awesome. I love how bold it is. I wish they had been bolder. I wish there was a dragon wrapped around the Space Needle on the logo, like there was on the marketing. Like they have like a neon marketing thing, like a marquee that was there at the launch and was at the stadium on Saturday that people could pose in front of and stuff. And I wish that they had wrapped a dragon around the logo.
That would have been cool.
That would have been just like way over the top, sick. Just like taking it to another level.
By the way, the alt jerseys for most of the MLS this year, they're almost all amazing. Like, I don't know if you.
Yeah, they are a big improvement. My other one little tiny quibble is I don't like that the back is black. I wish it was red.
Well, I wish I had a back in black stinger to go with that, but I don't.
Ooh.
But we do have to close out. Let's go ahead and do our shout outs. Do you have a shout out for us this week? Your wife, your kids, maybe.
My wife puts up with me doing this podcast, and I don't thank her enough for it. But I'm going to shout out to my wife, Michelle, who got the kids to bed. At least I think that she did. If not, I guess I'm going to be a grumpy dad. But she does so much for her family and is an awesome person and has become a Sounders fan and watches all the Sounders matches with me. So shout out to my wife, Michelle. Yeah.
Give a shout out to my dad, who I got sticker shock trying to buy the All-Star game tickets for Seattle Mariners, and he gave me an early birthday present. So thank you to my dad.
Wow, that's awesome.
God, those tickets are not cheap. All right. Well, thank you, Richard Michelson, the Ram, for joining us this week and talk some Sounders. My name is Abraham DeWeese, and we are the Seattle Sports Union. Check us out on our website, seattlesportsunion.com, as well. Check us out at Seattle Sports U as our Twitter handle. Check us out on Facebook, Seattle Sports Union again. And coming soon, we'll be on a local television station out of Ocean Shores. Keep an eye out for us there, 11 o'clock on Saturdays. And we'll see you guys next